Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Narrow Ring in the AITAH subreddit. The post is titled AITA for still not forgiving my brother for sleeping with my GF. I recently attended a family gathering for my dad's 49th birthday, but before I get into that, you need to know the backstory with my brother. This event happened about 3 years ago. Back then, I was dating a girl I'll call. C and I were high school sweethearts. She was my everything at the time, and I thought I was hers. It was around Thanksgiving when I found out what happened. I was shopping for desserts after staying at a friend's house to help them move. When I came home, I couldn't find C or her things. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. Her location appeared to be turned off. I checked my front door camera and saw my brother helping her move her things into his car and leaving with her. I then tried to call my brother, but he wouldn't answer either. At this point, I started to freak out and assume the worst. But then I thought my brother would never do that to me. He was honestly like my best friend when we were kids, and even though we drifted apart when I went to college, I still considered us best friends since we talked and went out from time to time. I called my dad and had him tell my mom to call my brother and put it on speaker mode. My brother answered, and when my mom asked him where C was, he said, "She's living with me now, she broke up with OP." I felt numb upon hearing those words. I thought this was some sick joke, so I checked his Facebook and Instagram and saw them holding each other and kissing. I broke down. Why is C doing this to me was going through my head all night. But then I became angry. How could my own brother, my best friend, do this to me? I drove up to his house and banged on his door, yelling for him to open up, but C was the one who opened the door. I wish I could say that I held it together, but I turned into a crying mess when I saw her. Then my brother came from the kitchen and told C to go upstairs. That's when he told me they had been having an affair since my second year of college and apologized for it. But then C came back down from the stairs and said that the whole reason she left me the way she did was that she was sick of pretending to love me. Looking at her, I realized that wasn't the person I fell in love with. That was someone else. I then wondered if this situation was still worth it. Ultimately, I realized it wasn't and walked out. I try not to be a problematic person or make a scene when I know that what I do won't change the outcome of the situation. Don't get me wrong, I was beyond mad at both her and my brother, so I cut them out of my life on the spot. Now, back to the family gathering. I live in California now and am still single. The gathering was fine until my brother and his wife walked in with a stroller. Apparently, they got married and started a family. Honestly, I really don't care anymore. I've been through enough therapy to know that I'm not the problem. She is. My brother tried to strike up a conversation with me, but I ignored him and returned to talking with one of my aunts. After a couple of hours, I'd forgotten they were even there. However, when I headed to the basement for more ice cream, my brother followed me and nearly gave me a heart attack. He awkwardly tried to apologize for what he did 3 years ago, but I walked past him without responding. He didn't approach me again that night, but the next day, I received multiple texts from my mom telling me to just forgive my brother already. My parents are very religious and have already forgiven him, but I can't. He's the entire reason why I have trust issues now. He knew how much she meant to me and still did what he did while expecting me to be okay with it. But honestly, I don't think I'll ever forgive him in life. Am I the asshole? A deleted user said, "NTA, you don't have a brother, you have a snake." User Darth Kaideya said, "NTA, my parents would be dead to me too if they so easily let this go." User Winterfront said, "Nope, don't forgive him, he doesn't deserve it. He was sleeping with your girlfriend behind your back and then let you find out by moving her out. That's cowardly and despicable. Tell your mom to inform your brother that at the next family gatherings, he needs to stick with his skank and not talk to you. If he does, you'll have no issue humiliating him. He is no longer your brother, and I tell your parents that if they try to push this, they will lose you completely." Update. First off, before I start with the update, I just want to thank everyone who responded to my post. Though some of you were very insistent that I get back at my brother with violence and cut him off. I know your hearts were in the right place, but I do want to clear some things up. I wasn't trying to paint my parents as the bad guys in my last post. They actually forgave him a couple of years before they even announced that C was pregnant. I also believe that nothing would come from me beating my brother into a pulp besides me probably going to jail and causing rifts in the family. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the update. I sat my mom and dad down with my brother in my parents' living room and finally told all of them how I felt. I told them that what my brother did was unforgivable. Not the type of unforgivable that means I'll hate him for the rest of my life, but the type that means I want utterly nothing to do with him because I don't want a relationship with someone who could sleep with a friend's girlfriend behind his back, much less his brother's. That's not the type of person I want to be around. My brother tried to make a rebuttal by saying that he had changed and would never do it again. I then asked my parents how they were able to forgive him, and they said they were really disappointed in him for a while. But when he got saved and started preaching, they forgave him since he had turned over a new leaf. I then asked if they would still forgive him if they were in my position, and they said they would have eventually forgiven him. Anyway, we went back and forth for a while until my brother said that I shouldn't be holding grudges. I told him that he shouldn't be sleeping with other people's girlfriends. He then looked at the ground and started to cry. My mom said that what I said was too harsh since he had already repented for his sins. I then gave them the ultimatum most of you suggested. They could either accept the fact that I want nothing to do with him and move on, or I would cut them off along with him and his family. My dad then said that I would die with regret if I didn't forgive my brother. I asked if that was their final answer, and my mom said fine. She would come to terms with me not wanting to be in my brother's life. I then asked my dad if that was how he felt too, and he said yes. I thanked them for their time, looked at my brother, and told him that no matter what he does, there is nothing he could do to get me to spend time with him. I wished him a good life and walked out. Afterward, I drove to get some In-N-Out and went to bed. That whole conversation was really mentally and physically draining, so I basically passed out a couple of seconds after hitting my bed. The next day, I decided to download some dating apps to try dating again and really move on from this whole situation. Final update. Hey everyone, it's been a while. Anyway, since everyone wanted an update, I'll tell you all what's going on currently. I'm still going no contact with my brother, and my parents have actually stopped hassling me to forgive him. Crazy, right? The dating apps failed miserably at first, but I finally met someone special at my job. I gained the courage to ask her out on Valentine's Day, and we've been going strong ever since. I really think she's the one. And don't worry, I'll make sure my brother stays far away from her, just to be on the safe side. So yeah, that's it. For personal reasons, this will be my last update for a while, but I want to thank everyone who gave me positive feedback and advice on what to do. Wishing the best for all of you. User Rude Red Dog 1 said, I'm glad to hear you're doing okay. Keep the lying cheaters. Whether you choose to forgive them or not, they will always have committed this act against you. They should be completely out of your life. Do not even allow their tainted offspring to be used as a way to get to you. And wow, your brother really thinks that becoming a pastor will help him connect with you. If his belief in his new faith is so strong, then continuing to live with his sexually impure wife is in no way pleasing to his deity. Additionally, attempting to live as he is while having wounded his own brother just to satisfy his desires is hypocritical. One thing that should be brought up to him, anonymously, of course, is a reminder of what God did to David and his improperly gotten wife and their offspring. God still imposed earthly consequences for David's coveting actions, which is exactly what your biological relative did in your case. If he wanted to make amends, he should have ended things with her long ago. Continuing to be with her will never erase the results of his wickedness, nor will it ever allow the breach to heal. He and she are both right fools and vile creatures. May retribution be upon their heads. I wish you well, and may you find the partner you truly deserve. User Lovely Monica said, while it's understandable that you may never fully forgive your brother for what happened, it's important to focus on the present and the future. You found happiness, and it's okay to protect that happiness by keeping your brother at a distance. User Do I Want to Know said, I'm happy for you that you found the one. The way your ex-brother and ex-friend betrayed you is incredibly cruel. It's not just that they slept together behind your back, it's also the fact that she packed up her things and moved in with him without even bothering to inform you that she had broken up with you. Living your best life is the way to go. This next post was made in the relationship subreddit by a user named D0WN. The post is titled, My boyfriend believes I cheated, but I didn't. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 3 years and living together for 2. 2 days ago, while I was at work, my brother found a pair of underwear in the dryer that he says is not his, along with the rest of his clothes. So he gave it to my boyfriend. The problem is that it is not my boyfriend's either. I know how this looks, but I have no reason to lie to strangers on the internet. I just need advice. When I got home, my boyfriend was distant and confronted me about it. He was not upset, just really sad. Of course, I completely understand how he's feeling and I don't blame him, but I don't know who the underwear belongs to. We have had a lot of family and friends stay over this year, including men, but I have no idea if anyone left them in the guest room and somehow they ended up with my brother's dirty clothes, which I washed without knowing. I was really honest with my boyfriend before we started dating that I had cheated in a previous relationship, and I'm always honest with him because I don't want to make the same mistake, and I haven't. There was this friend he didn't like, so I distanced myself from him, partially because I didn't like something he did to me, but also because my boyfriend didn't like him. I don't keep in contact with any exes, I don't go out often, and I don't do anything that could indicate I'm pulling away from my boyfriend. I am really in love with him and haven't felt the need to talk to other men. Still, there is a pair of underwear in my house that nobody knows where it came from. I'm really worried that even if my boyfriend decides to forget about this, the trust will be broken between us and he will become jealous and paranoid. This is not something I want for our relationship, and it makes me feel bad that he will have this doubt in his head that could make him feel insecure, especially because there's really nothing he should be worried about. I have no eyes for anyone else other than him. The worst part is that I don't think I'll ever find an explanation for this because I'm not going to go around asking my cousins and uncles if they think they left a pair of underwear at my place the last time they visited. How can I talk to my boyfriend to resolve this? What can I even say? User Dexstar said, I had an incident like this once. My then boyfriend found a pair of boxers he didn't recognize in my bedroom. It turns out they were his. He had forgotten he bought them in a pinch one day, and they weren't his usual brand. I had to remind him. User The Real James Hoffa said, I've been in a similar situation where I didn't cheat, but my ex was convinced that I did. Honestly, I don't have any good advice for you, but I empathize with how much it sucks to not be trusted, even when you know you didn't do anything. Ultimately, it's up to them whether they want to believe you or not. This final post was made in the same subreddit by a user named Revolutionary Noise. The post is titled, I think my husband and my sister are too close for comfort. 8 months ago, my sister moved back to town. A little backstory, she hasn't lived here in 10 years, as she originally left for college and never returned. We grew apart. We talked maybe once a year, and I haven't seen her in person for 4 years. I've been with my husband for 8 years and married for 3. She has met him twice during our entire relationship. He's a quiet and serious man who only opens up in front of me and a few select friends. She was struggling to find a job here, so I thought I'd be a good person and ask my husband if he could help her find a job at his company, since they work in the same field. Fast forward to now, they actually work in the same department. Lately, he's been acting more closed off towards me, but he claims everything is fine when I ask him what's wrong. We had our traditional family Christmas meal yesterday, and at first he tried to get out of it. This is not something he's ever attempted before, so I was very confused. After some convincing, he finally agreed to come along. My sister pulled him aside a few times for deep conversations, as if the rest of us didn't exist. Whenever I approached them, they would jump a little, and when I asked what they were talking about, they would say it was a work project that's near deadline. I felt uneasy about their behavior, but what bothered me the most was when he got up to get another drink. My sister was sitting in a chair next to the kitchen door, so he had to pass her to get to the kitchen. As he walked by her, she reached out her hand toward him and he caressed her palm and lightly grabbed her fingers. She looked up at him with a big smile while he nodded down at her. As soon as he was out of sight, she turned her head toward me and smirked. When it was time for dinner, there was a main dining table that seated most of the guests and a second table that could seat an additional 4 people. She sat down at the side table away from everyone else. I got my plate and sat down at the main table, but noticed that he sat down at the side table with her. I told him there was a seat next to me, but he said he wanted to sit where he was. I decided to join them, and they went from actively talking to each other to sitting in silence while we ate. Later, I asked him what that hand touching was about, and he said it was just a high five. I replied that it didn't look like a high five, but he insisted that's all it was. I've never had any reason to suspect him of cheating, but this has me feeling on edge. I've been battling with myself over whether to investigate further. Another thing is that he doesn't focus strongly when we talk. It's always just short answers and lighthearted conversation. In contrast, he was hanging on her every word during their intense discussions. There were also several instances where they were both on their phones texting at the same time while glancing at each other occasionally. That could be nothing, but after everything else, it made me feel uneasy. User Intune said, "I'm so sorry. They're having an affair and she wants more. She wants him to choose her. That's why he didn't want to go. This is also why she smirked at you while he caressed her hand like they're in a Jane Austen novel. Go through the phone records and see who he was texting during dinner. I'd bet my kid's college fund that it was her. Hire a private investigator and consult an attorney. He's going to try to hide as much as possible since you expressed distrust earlier." User Savage Taco said, "You have already received some great advice in this thread. All I have to say is to be analytical about it. Remove the emotion as best you can. Don't confront him about it. Instead, gather evidence, confirm your suspicions, and seek legal counsel. If you have shared accounts, take your share before dropping the bomb. Get absolutely everything in order before letting him know that you know. I'm sorry you're in this position. You'll get through it. Just be smart. Good luck." A deleted user said, "A touch like you describe is solid evidence on its own. All the other signs just confirm it. They are having an affair. Keep your cards close to your chest while you gather proof, and then see a solicitor. I'm so sorry. Update. I apologize for not updating sooner. I've been busy getting things sorted out. After my first post on a Tuesday, I asked my husband if he'd go on a little weekend getaway with me. We went to a cabin in the mountains where neither of us had cell phone service. I planned for that as I wanted to ensure I had his full attention. The first night went fantastically, and I almost forgot all my concerns about my sister. When we woke up the next morning, we cooked breakfast together, but he was rather quiet. I asked if he'd go on a little walk with me, which he agreed to. When we reached the lake, there were some large rocks where we could sit. We both sat on the same rock and remained in silence for what felt like forever. Finally, I gathered the courage to bring up my concerns about him and my sister, and his face went pale. He admitted to falling in love with my sister. He said it all started because of how much they have in common. They spend more time together at work than he does with me at home. He mentioned that he feels like he can talk to her about anything, and it never gets tiring. He said he's never felt more alive than when he's with her, and they began having a physical affair in October. The emotional affair started in June after working with her for a couple of months since the end of April. He apologized for hurting me and for deceiving and betraying me. I asked him what he wanted to do about it, and he said that as much as he knows it will hurt me to hear this, he no longer loves me. The most painful thing I've ever heard in my life was when he said that the way he feels for her made him realize that he's never once felt that way for me, even at the time when he loved me the most. He said it's not comparable by any measure, and he doesn't feel right staying married to me. We are splitting amicably and agreeing that the marriage is over, but yes, I am heartbroken. They have both applied to transfer jobs to a different city with the same company, and he offered to let me keep the house. I told him that I didn't want the house because it reminds me of him or us. We have split the finances, and he is giving me more money than he is taking. We are getting ready to list it for sale, and I have been packing and doing odds and ends like painting. He said I could keep the full amount from the house sale. New carpet and flooring comes tomorrow, and the movers arrive this afternoon. I found a small house for myself to start fresh, but I know it will take some time for me to heal from this heartbreak. My sister, on the other hand, is not handling this as kindly as he is. She is gloating. She even accidentally sent me a photo of both of them where you can tell she is in heaven because she won him away from me. She changed her profile photo to a picture of herself smiling smugly while he kisses her forehead. I unfollowed her on TikTok because she's now posting videos and photos of them together. Some are from months ago, and they kicked me in the heart. I asked him if he could please talk to her about stopping this behavior. He said he'd discuss it with her, but nothing has changed. For now, I have removed myself from social media except for Reddit. My mother is favoring my sister's side, saying that she's not posting those things to hurt me and that my sister deserves to be happy. My mom said it's my fault for looking and that I need to stop being so petty. My father is taking a neutral stance. He said he'd like to stay out of it. He acknowledged that what my sister did isn't right, but he still considers her his daughter. He said he won't accept their relationship, but he is here for me for whatever I need. He just won't be in the middle of this. I respect his decision on that. I'm sure it's not an easy position to be in. Thank you all for the kind words and the advice you've given. I probably didn't include everything, but my brain is kind of foggy at the moment edit. For those thinking this is unrealistic because it was magically resolved in 18 days, it is far from resolved. They are moving to a different office because he said he feels guilty and doesn't want to be near me. They have not transferred yet because they can't for a while due to a lack of openings. I worded it wrong, which is my fault. I wanted to update as much as possible to try to provide closure for those asking for an update. Also, I am currently no contact with all of them except my STBX, and I will be for a long time, if not forever. I will be no contact with him after the divorce.